Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Companies to watch.
All right, time for a deep dive into some of the stocks you should be keeping an eye on. And of course, we've got Deep Dive Dan helping us out this morning. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, resuscitating Ryan.
All right, let's resuscitate some of the stocks on our list right now.
Okay, welcome to Companies to Watch. That's a segment where we spotlight and stock you up with ideas of listed companies that will call for your attention. So we're looking at market trends to risks, as well as hidden gems or warning signs to steer clear of. 8855-0893, text us. Be involved in this conversation and tell us whether you think it's going to be hard or not. Ryan, you ready?
Let's go.
It's Shopping Friday. Do you shop for U.S. goods?
Sometimes only during the special promotions and special holidays, because that's where you get a big discount, especially Black Friday.
Yeah, I'm turning specifically to the sports sector, where you've got various brands, American brands that people would often wear for their workouts. I mean, you work out yourself, right? Right? You play basketball. Do you have any particular brands that you are?
Oh, yeah, I do. So I gravitate towards Adidas. Wait, does that count?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Sometimes Under Armour.
Okay.
And I do yoga, Lululemon. Yeah.
Do you actually?
Yeah.
Wow, you're a very fancy man,
Just
right?
imagine me in yoga pants.
Oh,
okay, there you
a
go.
sight to behold. Well, the reason why I've decided to bring the U.S. retailers to our attention today is because shares of Nike, Wayfair, and other retailers with a significant production footprint in Vietnam had risen sharply in the past few days, as President Trump said the U.S. reached a trade deal with the country. The gains come after President Donald Trump posted on social media that Vietnam had agreed to pay a 20% tariff on goods that are shipped to the U.S. and a 40% on items shipped from other countries to Vietnam and then back to the U.S. So Vietnam would otherwise have to face a 46% tariff starting on July the 9th, when the White House self-imposed negotiation deadline that is set to expire. So I guess there's some good news in this aspect.
Pretty much halving the tariff that would have been originally set. So good news for folks who do business in Vietnam.
Isn't it strange, though, like to think that 20% it's still considered good news?
It's all relative right now.
Yeah.
So I suppose you take what they can get.
Really strange paradox they were in. So Vietnam is considered to be a critical production hub for companies like Nike, Gap, and Lululemon, which count on the Southeast Asian nation's factory to manufacture goods ranging from t-shirts to jeans and Ryan's favorite yoga pants. Nike's stock, meanwhile, jumped about 4% on the news. The sports apparel giant sources 50% of its shoes and 28% of its apparel from Vietnam, according to their most recent annual report. And that's much needed because the sneaker giant, seeing how they recently reported financial results for its fiscal 2025 fourth quarter and the full year ended May 31st of 2025, they were down from their full year revenue to $46.3 billion. That's down 10% compared to the prior year, and down 9% on a currency-neutral basis. Fourth quarter revenues were down $11.1 billion, down 12% on a reported basis, and 11% on currency-neutral basis. So I guess one way or another, this provides some hope to Nike.
Yeah, good news for Nike for sure. They've got a few headwinds. You mentioned down. Pretty much markets are not that hot about Nike these days, especially in China, and they are also facing a lot of competition.
Exactly. And we've been seeing the likes of other retailers like On Holdings, which also manufactures in Vietnam. On Holdings, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the brand, they're basically a shoemaker. And apparently they do make really comfortable shoes.
They do.
Yeah.
Up and coming.
Yeah, so they climbed close to about 3%. Under Armour, that's another favorite, and Abercrombie & Fitch shares each gained about 2%. Lululemon, meanwhile, the stock climbed about 0.5%. Nike, as of last night, the last trading session, they were trading at about $76.39. That's up 3% year to date. On Holding last traded at $54, down 1.9%. Lululemon, meanwhile, not so rosy here. $247.68 as of the yesterday's close, That's down more than 33% year to date. How do you make of how these US retailers are performing so far?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different reasons. I think for Lululemon, particularly so, you have a bit of fatigue with all the competition, and to some extent, the prices they're charging is quite a premium.
Yeah.
So now, as consumers are more price conscious, they are starting to hold back. Maybe the spending cycle is longer. They don't buy as much at a frequent pace.
Yeah.
And maybe even go to other brands.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's like what you're saying, right? I mean, stiff competition, saturation of the market. And according to a recent report from Morgan Stanley, with seeing how nearly a fifth of all apparel imports in the US comes from Vietnam and over a third of footwear imports also coming from the same place, shows how reliant they are on Vietnam, which certainly just justify, the reason why these stocks are certainly making waves these past few days. And it comes as apparel makers have been trying to diversify production out of China to Vietnam, Cambodia, and Indonesia amid Trump's reciprocal tariffs on imports from these countries. But then again, Trump's on-again, off-again tariff policy, it's certainly forced companies to withdraw or cut their financial targets. And analysts believe that, some clarity on the issue would allow companies to chalk out their strategy for the rest of the year. But as of now, I guess this brings some hope in the near term to these stocks who are directly impacted by, tariff cuts or maybe tariff hikes coming out of these countries. So once the deal is finalized, it is critical for the footwear as Vietnam accounts for about 25% of shoe manufacturing. And I believe this might, in one way or another, help to spur consumer demand and hopefully not have to translate to additional costs for consumers.
I hope so. I'm just a bit cautious about all the trade discussions. We've seen how they can swing back and forth. So I'm sure there's still another twist in the story somewhere down the line.
Yeah, but I guess, having considered all things, my verdict for the stock for today has got to be a hot.
Okay, why?
Well, I think that, it's quite comforting to know that we're going somewhere with this. At least Trump is, certainly quite open to negotiations. And I think it's opening discussions for possible or further rate cuts.
All right, glass half full. I'm a bit more
pessimist,
glass half empty person right now. Okay, I'm thinking at some stage these tariffs could go up again.
Yep.
So for now, I'm not going to be so hot. Probably more on the fence.
All right, Ryan, thanks a lot for that. And that pretty much wraps it up for our analysis of today's Stock in Focus, U.S. retailers. Now here's some fun facts about U.S. retailers and apparels, Ryan. While it's true that many goods and services are experiencing price increases, did you know that clothing is an exception, with its price actually decreasing since 1992? Now, specifically, clothing prices have fallen by 8.5% since 1992. And it's because of the rise of fast fashion and increased competition among retailers. Now, Levi's jeans are considered to be one of the most popular brands in the market today, right? And while you might have to pay a hefty price for a pair now, can you guess how much was the first pair ever sold for?
Wow, this is back in the gold rush days.
Yeah.
$10?
No, the first pair was sold for $6 worth of gold dust back in 1853.
Wow, okay.
Fascinating, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is Super Mario's favorite type of clothing?
Jeans.
Denim.
Okay, that's close.
All right, one more. I just opened an express clothing alteration business.
Okay.
Guess what it's called?
Shortcuts.
That's not bad, but Taylor Swift.
Okay, not bad.
And that's all we have for U.S. retailers.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance. To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.